providing resources and comfort to caregivers. This is Caregiver Crossing.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Caregiver Crossing, and thanks for being here. If it's your first time joining us, I always feel like maybe you want to know. Caregiver Crossing is a show brought to you by Joy's House, presented in partnership with Cardon and Associates, and we are here every single week to talk all things caregiving. I am Tina McIntosh in studio with
Noah Taylor.
And we want to start, first of all, happy June.
Happy June. It's almost summer.
Dude, I mean, it's like happy 2025.
Really, though, this year has flown by.
Is this what happens?
I think so.
The whole time flies thing is real. Yeah, so happy June. Sorry, I just went into a little bit of a state of shock with that. But do you know what June is?
I don't know if I do.
It is Intergenerational Day.
Oh, June 1st?
Yeah, and
Wow.
so it's a day that was created to bring both, younger folks and older adults together, and it's working. I mean, this is a thing that was started by students in Canada way back in 2010, and it's now recognized in cities all over the world. And the goal is really to talk more, to share more, and to spend time together.
This sounds so perfect for us and everybody here at Joy's House. I mean,
Yeah.
we really talk about this a lot.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, intergenerational, when you think about that, particularly as I would say any age adult, because I've now been ages, 0 to 53. But you bring in, I always say at Joy's House in particular, which is where we are. We're in the Joy's House studio, not-for-profit adult day service and caregiver support. And I always tell people, you bring in with our older adults here at Joy's House, a puppy or a baby, and you're in.
Who were we just talking to that was telling us to look up videos of babies laughing?
Oh. I think it was Terry who was saying that.
Yeah. I think that's so special. I mean, just being able to see the smiles, I think really is important for our guests here.
I agree. And, this conversation, Noah, matters because aging in place isn't just about we talk about like grab bars and ground floor, bathrooms and a setup of things. But it is obviously there's so much more to life as we get older. And it's about, feeling heard and included and seen. And I think that's really important. And you said that when we were talking about Joy's House recently, our adult day service, that you want people to feel seen.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really all any of us want.
Right. We just want somebody to hear and somebody to say that, our words matter, that we matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, there is a great book out there by Richard Rohr that you've heard me talk about before because Rohr is a hard word for me to say. R-O-H-R. Can you say it better than me?
Roar?
Oh, that's so much better.
Was that good?
Yeah, no, I'm terrible at it. We'll call him Richard R.
Yeah, Richard R. That sounds good to me.
In the book, it's called Falling Upward. And he talks about the first 40 years of our life is really about climbing, making our way, planning, dreaming, really kind of scratching the surface of who you're going to be. And then the next 40 plus years is really about what do I want my legacy to be? What is my faith or my not faith? How can I give back? And it is about kind of reaching back into, to hit on this intergenerational, reaching back into younger adults and kids and helping to teach them and lift them up, which we see in patterns in our own lives, right? With grandparents or professors or neighbors, whoever it is. But the hazard that comes with this intergenerational work that happens is that so many times those of us who are on the second half of our life, who are falling upward, so many of us want to tell you, the younger generation, what you should do and how you should do it, instead of recognizing, I can tell you what happened in my life, but that doesn't mean that's how you have to do it.
Right. And I mean, so many things have changed too since you were that age. I think it's important to offer guidance, but maybe saying, this worked for me, but, maybe something different works for you.
Yeah. One of my best friends always says, let me tell you how I did it. You can do it however you want, but let me tell you how I did it. And I'm like, I need to
That's
just put
perfect.
that into my, vernacular, I think is the right word to use there. But the hazard is we tell you how to do it and we kind of squash you instead of saying, you know what, you do it your way.
Right.
And I can't wait to see how well you do it.
Oh, I love that.
So I think, for when we're talking Intergenerational Day, which is really cool that it's being done, There are several ways to celebrate, and I think I saw you just pulled them up. So I'm going to let you take these.
Absolutely. So I think I'm going to be doing one of these today, but ask your neighbor who's been on the block the longest to tell you how it used to be, tell you what the neighborhood used to be like, tell you how things have changed, how the city's changed over the years, or maybe even what they've done has changed in the community. Invite an older family member to dinner, and most importantly, let them pick the music.
I love these.
And then the last one I've got pulled up here is to share a skill. Maybe teach a teen how to change a tire, or ask a kid how to use the latest app. I will say I was just at the Glendale Library last week, and they were telling us about some program they offer for senior adults, and it's somebody who works at the library, maybe my age, a little bit younger, who teaches a computer and phone class to older adults at the
So
Glendale
smart.
Library there. Yeah, it's a free class that you can take. And they actually do a little bit of outreach too at some senior communities where they go out and actually teach some older adults how to use the computer and use some different apps on their phone.
Yeah, I mean, these are easy things to do. I love. So you're going to ask your neighbor who's been on the block the longest to tell you how it used to be?
I think I will.
I think you should.
We've got a beautiful, diverse neighborhood, and I bet there's so many great stories just waiting to be shared.
Oh, no, I'd do it. That's really cool. I do love the invite an older family member to dinner and let them pick the music. Are
Right.
you kidding me? Like, that's so cool
They've
and so
got the
simple.
best music.
Anyway, all right. So here are some fast facts for you. There are three of them. One, people of all ages report less loneliness after spending time with someone from another generation. And that's kind of mind blowing to me. Two, intergenerational friendships are linked to lower stress and longer life. And three, you don't need to be related to feel like family.
I feel like that one's so important,
Yeah.
and I think that we emphasize that a lot at Joy's house too.
We do. I mean, let's be honest. There are family members that I would choose to not be in my family, and I will invite the rest of you in.
I'd rather to choose somebody else, right?
Yeah. And there's a thought to carry with you is sometimes the best way to age well is just to hang out with someone who hasn't yet.
Someone who hasn't aged yet.
Yeah. So just, hang out with somebody of a different generation. And so I know we're going to have to take a break here in just a second, but I do want you to know that you can find past episodes of the show at caregivercrossingradio.org, and be sure to like and follow us on Facebook. If you'd like to connect with us to talk about, it doesn't matter, show topics, you want some help, you have some advice to give, connecting with resources, anything, you can reach us at 317-254-0828, or you can email me directly at tina@joyshouse.org. Again, I'm at tina@joyshouse.org. We'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you as a service of Joy's House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. With locations in Broad Ripple and near the University of Indianapolis campus, Joy's House provides exceptional day services for individuals living with a life-altering diagnosis and compassionate support for family caregivers throughout the community. At Joy's House, we believe that everyone deserves to live their best life, regardless of their abilities. Learn more about our adult day and caregiver support services by calling us at 317-254-0828 or by visiting joyshouse.org today. All right, stick around, everybody. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing right after the break.
Truckers aren't just moving goods. They're making sure bakers get their chocolate chips and hotels get their tiny soaps. But truckers can't do this if they're not on the road. That's why Progressive has over 360 heavy truck employees to help truckers stay on time and on track. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Support for this podcast comes from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Did you know riders who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $200 per year? That's a whole new pair of riding gloves and more. Quote today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $197 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between October 2024 and September 2025. Potential savings will vary.
We're back on Caregiver Crossing. Tina McIntosh. I am in studio with my ornery co-host, Terry Stacy.
Hello.
And our wonderful producer, Noah Taylor.
Hey there.
You know she's ornery. We have someone very special with us on the phone today, and her name is Lana Wilhelm. She brings a rare kind of compassion to stroke caregiving, which I don't think we talk enough about, and that is she's been a registered nurse for 40 years. She also has her own experience caring for her spouse after a stroke. And through Stroke Caregiver Connection and her books, she has two of them, Stroke in the Spouse and Stroke in the Caregiver. She's helping families to feel less alone and more prepared and more supported in life than they ever expected to navigate. And so, Lana, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. This is such an important topic. I'm so glad you all have decided to join in.
Yeah, and before we talk about your books, because we do want to talk about that and be able to share that resource with others, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how stroke caregiving became such a personal topic for you?
Oh, I would love to. It's become a passion of mine based on a crisis, to be honest with you. I have been a nurse I'm now retired, but I have been a nurse for over 40 years. And I thought I had it all going on, you know. I was a trauma nurse. I was a neurosurgical nurse, case manager. I had a wide range of experience. And I always thought that if something would happen to a loved one in my family, I would be able to just handle it with very little problems. And then one Wednesday at 3 p.m., my husband came in from the garage and said, something is really wrong. Within minutes, I realized he was having a stroke. We rushed to the hospital. And for the first time, I was on the other side of the bed. You know, it's scary. I always thought, why do these people always look this way? You know, as a nurse, you know, I asked them, do you have questions? And they kind of looked back at me and with this glazed look. I was then the glazed look person in the chair. And I realized at that point that there was a huge gap in the care for the stroke patient and the caregiver and the medical community. And I was overwhelmed. My husband, we were in the intensive care unit for, over 4 weeks. He had a pretty massive stroke. He's doing pretty well now. Physically, he does well. Cognitively, we have issues, which is not uncommon. But after he stabilized is when I kind of, it hit me between the eyes that as a caregiver, I struggled with limited resources, with being so overwhelmed and stressed. I thought to myself, what happens to the average person who doesn't have any medical experience in this situation? And my heart just broke, and I thought, I cannot allow another individual to experience what I did if I can help at all.
For spouses, the stroke can affect routines and communication and even your future, that a marriage functions. So what do you think people often misunderstood about spouses that are caring for their loved ones after a stroke?
Well, you know, I really had no idea, but at first, and now what I've experienced is, and what I've heard many, many people say is, you know, after you have a stroke, unless they have a physical issue that you can visually see, you can't see the day-to-day. It's not like a broken arm where you have a cast and everybody can see the cast. You know, sometimes they look great. A lot of the stroke patients can fake it for a couple hours when they're out with others. So people will say frequently, wow, he looks great, or she looks great, or things seem to be going so well. But they don't live with it 24/7. They don't see the grief of, you know, the communication has changed. Your lifestyle has changed. The person that you shared your life with has completely changed. And you take on their responsibilities. It's no longer a partnership. It's of a, it's not that husband-wife or that partnership that you once had. So what I tell families frequently, and especially the spouses, is that it changes dramatically. And you'll go through a grieving process, even though the person is still with you. But there is a hope and there is joy afterwards. It's just different. And it's learning to accept that difference and letting go of the pre-stroke and then the post-stroke. You know, it is different and scary.
You're hearing the voice of Lana Wilhelm, and she is a lot of things, registered nurse with over 40 years experience. Her husband, Rick, is who we're talking about, who had a stroke years back. And then she's also authored 2 books. And so want to talk about those books just a little bit. Like, when did you realize, because you're going through all of this and it's confusing and overwhelming and beautiful and complicated, and you're like, I'll just write a book. So how does that magic happen?
Well, it's my husband went the first day to rehab. It's kind of a funny story. It's sad but funny. So the morning of his first day at outpatient rehab, I was getting him all ready, and I thought, no, I got this. We practiced. Well, the bus that was going to pick him up was an hour early. We had some issues in the shower. We had to do another shower. I didn't have time to feed him or give him his medicines or anything. So I'm like throwing him basically out the door. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst nurse and wife in the world. So I get him on the bus, and he's got everything he needs, and he drives off, and I've got his wheelchair, and I'm rolling it up to the garage. And as I was rolling it up to the garage, you have that moment where you kind of like, something's not right. I turn around, I look, and the wheelchair is rolling down the hill.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
You pushed him. Lana, you pushed him.
I have pushed him. I don't know. I'm running down this hill. I knocked the wheelchair over into my neighbor's yard. Finally, I'm laying there just like laughing and crying at the same time. And happens to be a book coach. And we just started talking, and I was telling her how I was just so frustrated. There just isn't anything out there for people, but I had been journaling and all this kind of stuff. And she said, have you ever thought about putting this down in a book? And I'm like, yeah, right. And she's like, no, really? She said, I've looked, there's just nothing out there. So I kind of looked back at my notebook, and I started like looking at my journaling, and it became kind of a therapy for me. While he was at therapy, I would be working on this, like, okay, what did I experience? What questions did I have? What resources are available? And it really kind of helped me, even though I had lost so much, I felt I had gained so much by writing the book. And it just really made a difference in both of our lives. And then, I self-published through Amazon, and then people started wanting me to do speaking engagements, and the need was so great. And then once a week, I go to the local hospital, and I meet with all the families that have had strokes, and talk with them. And I realize there's a whole group of people now, not just spouses, but adult children that live in different states. Mom and dad get sick, they come in, do the whole thing, and they had needs and questions. And that's how I came up with the second book, kind of addressing their needs and what in their forefront of their minds.
Absolutely. And we were going to continue to talk more about stroke and the spouse and stroke and the caregiver. This is registered nurse Lana Wilhelm. And can you stick with us for a few more minutes, Lana?
I would love to. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. This is Caregiver Crossing.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you by Joyce House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. With 20 communities owned, operated, or managed in the Midwest and more than 40 years of senior living experience, Cardon and Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Stay put, everybody. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing right after the break.
We're back on Caregiver Crossing. Tina McIntosh, Terry Stacy, Noah Taylor in studio. We've got the giggles a little bit here, so forgive us, because we're going to come back into a very serious topic, although there has to be fun in caregiving.
Well, I wrote that down on my paper with our guest. That was going to be, I wanted to talk, she brings humor, I think, to the situation, and I think you kind of have to give yourself some grace. It's okay to have some humor and some laugh at things that happen.
Lana Wilhelm is our guest. She is an author of 2 books, Stroke and the Spouse and Stroke and the Caregiver. She is a registered nurse, practiced for over 40 years, and brings her own experience. I mean, if you weren't with us just a few minutes ago, she talked about accidentally letting her husband in his wheelchair roll down the hill. And I love that you explained that, Lana, as the mixture of laughing and crying, because truly, if we don't if we don't find humor in these moments, we will just crack wide open, I think.
And I think it's also, when you talked about that, for those of us that have been in a situation similar, after my father had a stroke and I'm wheeling him around in the hospital and banging his feet against every door that I turned. And
Yes.
sorry, Dad. I must have said it 100 times every time I take him and have to guide that wheelchair. I think it's very relatable, Lana, that you tell these stories. I think we're all remembering
Okay, so
the things we did.
I got a quick one. I was the patient, and my mother-in-law, bless her, pulled up to let me out to go into the cancer hospital. And she said, "Give me just a second." And it was one of those hospital wheelchairs where you had to like grip the back and it had a safety lock on it. So you have to be behind it to push it. So I couldn't move it forward. And she jumped out of the car to place me. And then she jumped back in the car, you guys, and she drove away to go park and left me in the middle of where all the cars were coming. I finally flagged down somebody in scrubs and said, "Can you move me?" And she goes, "I wondered what in the world you were doing in the middle of traffic. I just was sitting there and I had a broken ankle." Anyway.
That makes me laugh. See, Lana, that was good. I'm glad you told that story because we're all remembering and relating to your story too. And thanks again for being here.
So, Lana, we want your advice on a lot of things. You mentioned earlier how a lot of people with folks who are living with a stroke, the after effects of a stroke, people will say like, "Oh, you look great," or "He looks great." How do you respond to that kind of stuff? Because any of us who have been caregivers are like, at this moment, I mean, it can change, right? And so what's your recommendation on how to respond to those moments when people say something that you could go a lot of different ways with the answer?
Initially I would respond with, "Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you think that," or, "He's doing great," and that kind of stuff. But in my mind, I was saying, "You live with him 24/7.
Yes.
It just seemed kind of mean, to say that out loud. So, like, and then I tried to explain to him, kind of what our day was like. And what? Let's be honest. Most people really just want to hear everything's great. They're fine.
Yes.
What I realized is I was putting myself through so much more frustration by trying to explain or try for them to understand. And I finally just thought I'd just say thanks and just move on. Because if I spent so much of my energy trying to do that, I was taking energy away from someplace else. When I talk to families so many times is, you got to wake up each morning with a purpose. And it could be as simple as, "I'm going to take a shower today," or "I'm going to walk today." That's just related to you. But it's really hard when, people come up to you and say, with the words I hate so much is, "You are so strong." Well, what other choice do you
You're an
have?
angel. You're
Yeah.
such an angel. Yeah.
Okay.
You
All
know,
right.
I and you're like, okay. And the other thing is, I think one of the things I put in my book that I thought was so important is family and friends are wonderful during the crisis and long term, but they don't know what to do. And they really don't want to have to deal with it necessarily because it brings a lot of emotions for them. It's someone they love as well has gone through this and they don't know what to do. So what I did was in each chapter, I put tips for friends and families, what you can do. Such things as, number one, please don't bring us casseroles.
Please don't bring us. Okay.
I've had enough casserole.
Okay.
I'm like,
No more casseroles. Good to know.
lasagna one woman eat. Really, come on. Bring us wine, bring us ice cream. Bring us the essential. But I do a list of different things that they can do to help. You're at the hospital nonstop. Say, "Let me grab your keys. I'm gonna go fill up your car with gas and bring it back." Just little things like that they can do because once the crisis is over, people go on with their lives and they need to. It's having being a caregiver is not a sprint. It's a marathon for sure.
We want to get to, because this is an important part of your life, and that you created Stroke Caregiver Connection. Tell us about that too.
Yes. So, I was a one-person kind of machine that was visiting patients, and everybody just kept wanting more and more, and the need was so great. I'm like, how do I meet the needs of so many with one person? And that's how I came up with the connection, how I came up with the website. speaking engagements. I now have a course available to caregivers and visiting patients. Is how do I get this information out to more people so that they can have the resources they need? So, like I set up a virtual support group. Because there's so many people that live in small areas that just don't have resources available. And what I hear, I would say 99% of the time from people is, oh my gosh, I'm finally talking to someone that gets it. You know,
Mhm.
someone that will sit there and let me vent and not give me suggestions, or someone I can be frustrated with and they won't say things like, oh, but that they survived and they're doing great, that sort of thing, or don't give their opinion, so to speak. So I thought it was really important that people had a place to go that was safe, that they could get good information, that they could get education, that they could find out what's new and happening in the stroke care environment. But most importantly, just that it was an easy place to go for them.
Yeah, we appreciate you bringing a voice and a light to all of this. Where can folks find more information about either the books Stroke and the Spouse, Stroke and the Caregiver, or about that Stroke Caregiver Connection?
Absolutely. So the best place is to go to is the website, www.strokecaregiverconnection.com. It's a brand new website. I just revamped. I did the initial one, and I was a nurse. It looked like a nurse did a website. So I found So I found someone that actually like knew what they were doing, and it looks great now. It's easy to navigate. Everything I need is there. And then on Amazon, both books are available, and the course offerings are on the website. Just everything they need, I think, would be best on the website. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all that, but that I say the website's probably their easiest place to go.
That's great. So if somebody is interested, again, that website is strokecaregiverconnection.com. Her name is Lana Wilhelm, and we are so grateful to have you in this world. And please tell your husband hello from us. And thank you for everything you're doing.
You are so welcome. And I think, being on the show helps us spread my mission, and now you're a part of it.
Ah, thanks.
That's so sweet.
Well, and thanks for being a part of our Joy's House family here through Caregiver Crossing. So we are going to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment here on Caregiver Crossing.
Thanks, Lana.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you weekly by Joy's House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. We're here every week to bring you support, education, and hopefully a good laugh. Visit joycehouse.org to connect with us, hear past episodes, learn more about caregiver support resources in the community, and much, much more. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing right after the break.
Why does Progressive work hard for truckers? Because truckers unite the world. They unite kids with their first drum sets and parents with earplugs. But truckers can't do this if they're not on the road. That's why Progressive has over 360 heavy truck employees to help truckers stay on time and on track. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Support for this podcast comes from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Did you know riders who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $200 per year? That's a whole new pair of riding gloves and more. Quote today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $197 by new customers surveyed who save with Progressive between October 2024 and September 2025. Potential savings will vary.
We are back on Caregiver Crossing. I'm Tina McIntosh in studio with Noah Taylor.
Hello.
Do you know what month it is?
Honestly,
Don't
I
say
can't
June.
remember anymore.
We've already established it's June of 2025. You were actually not going to probably know this, except you prepared for the show, so I think maybe you will. It is Aphasia Awareness Month.
I don't know. I don't know a lot about aphasia, but I really want to know more, and I think it's important that we emphasize awareness about this.
Yeah, so aphasia, aphasia, however you say potato, I think at this point, but aphasia how we are taught to say it. And June is Aphasia Awareness Month. And if you've never heard of it, you're not alone. And so I do appreciate you bringing, I do appreciate it. You brought the topic to the show, and I do appreciate that because more than 2 million people in the U.S. live with aphasia. Can you believe that?
That's a lot of people in the U.S.
But just about 85% of Americans don't even know what the word means.
I know. I think a lot of people have never heard of this, and I think that we can do a lot to make it pretty prevalent.
Yeah, so here's why the month was created. Again, 2 million people in the U.S. live with aphasia, but about 85% of Americans don't even know what the word means or have never even heard the word. But I promise the majority have met somebody living with aphasia and just don't know it and make poor assumptions about why that's happening. So really what it is, it's a communication disorder, and it impairs a person's ability to process that language, but it doesn't affect their intelligence. So think about that for just a minute. If I have aphasia, then my intelligence is the same as it's always been, but I can't communicate my words properly. And so it happens a lot of times after a stroke or a brain injury. And I mean, Noah, I know since you've been working at Joy's house, you've seen it too. The number of people who have traumatic brain injuries has increased. Now, maybe it's because they're diagnosed more often. Maybe it's because we just have a riskier behavior, or, that trend is just up, but it is happening.
All the things in between.
Yeah. And so a lot of times aphasia happens after, again, either a stroke or the brain injury, and it makes it hard to speak, to understand, to read right. So it really affects the communication, which tells me it has to do with where it happens in the brain, but I am not a medical professional on that. So let's just pretend I didn't say that.
Important disclaimer. Yes.
For real. So people with aphasia know what they want to say. They just can't always find the words. And it might come out in what seems like gibberish.
Or choppy, yeah.
Yeah, like words that you're like, why? I asked you how you're doing, and you just said there was a ballerina in the living room. And it's like, that doesn't track for me. It doesn't really track for you either. Right. The words just got kind of jumbled on the way from the brain, out of the mouth. And so when we don't know that someone has aphasia, it's, we're going to assume that maybe they're confused or they're sick or they're not paying attention. They're ADHD, they're bouncing all over the place and they're not paying attention to what I'm saying. But really, they're still right there and wanting to connect.
And trying to communicate. Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
It sounds so hard.
All right. I see that you've got in front of you the ways that you can recognize aphasia and
so
maybe connect better.
A few signs that we took here. So they may speak in short or incomplete sentences, or even use words incorrectly, like you were saying earlier. They might pause a lot when talking. Maybe seem to understand some things, but not 100%. And then here's some things that help when speaking to somebody who has aphasia. One, speak slowly and clearly, one idea at a time.
I want to say something to that. Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. Yes. I just was like, yes, let's discuss.
This is one idea. Let's discuss it.
Let's discuss the one idea. I see what you did there. Speaking slowly and clearly doesn't mean treating somebody like they're not there.
Oh my gosh.
Think about it. I mean, we talk about this. Think about, you've done this when there's somebody who's hearing impaired. And so you start to talk louder and like this. And it's like, no.
It's really not helpful.
Don't do that.
No, you need to speak clearly is, I think, what's most important. Not just loudly.
Right. Speak clearly. Look somebody in the eyes. Maybe approach them from the front. Don't sneak up and try and shout something at them. So yes, don't treat somebody like they're ignorant, no matter what, but just eye contact, face on, speak clearly, and maybe a little bit slower. One idea at a time, my friends, is key for anybody that you perceive as not being able to understand or communicate, because when we throw 5 things at somebody, I get confused.
Right. I think that's important for communication, regardless of what diagnosis you might have. Even in any relationship, it's important to, communicate clearly.
Amen, brother.
Yes. Another one we have here is to give extra time for replies. Please don't finish their sentences unless they ask. This is something that really
bothers you.
Really irks me.
Bothers you?
Yes.
Irks you?
Yes. Irks me, bothers me. All of the things. Oh my gosh. And then use gestures, pictures, or write things down. Symbolism can be helpful. And then most of all, be patient. Not perfect. Just
I
take the
almost
time we
wore a
need.
shirt today that says "Be real, not perfect."
Oh, that would have been perfect
It
for
would
this.
have been.
But can we talk about the shirt that you have on instead today?
Go ahead.
Tina's shirt says, "I love family caregivers."
I
It's such a
do.
cute shirt.
Thanks. I do. I was finishing your sentence earlier on purpose, by the way. I don't want anybody to think like,
yeah,
oh,
I
rude.
know.
Yeah, this is all really, really important stuff. I have this in our bathroom at home. We have this cork board, and on the cork board, like right now, it's a lot of graduation pictures or weddings that we have coming up. Like I just, around Christmas time, it's Christmas gift or Christmas cards and all that. Sorry, my allergies are getting the best of me today. But I also have a couple little sayings or reminders. So when somebody is a guest and comes in, it's a really great talking point in our bathroom. I know. But one of the things is when it comes to communication, 5% of how we communicate are our words. So even as you're listening to this show, 5% of how you're going to feel when you walk away has to do with the words we're using. The rest is intonation and body language.
Yeah.
So that's hard for this radio show because you can't pick up on our body
Right,
language.
you can't see our faces. You don't know our hand movements.
Right, like
what's
right now I'm
happening here.
pointing, right?
Yeah.
I'm pointing at us, like with my hands. You don't know that. So hopefully we do a good job with the intonation part of things and giving you good words, obviously. But when you're communicating with somebody else, that is key to remember. It's not so much what you say, it's how you say
How
it.
you say
truly.
it,
So,
yes.
taking away from this, really knowing the word aphantasia can change how you see and support somebody else. And we just want you to show up. We want you to slow down. We want you to stay present. And a little understanding goes a long way. And just a caution to not make up our stories about people. So, if you want to give any input on the show or you have a question for us, call us at 317-254-0828. I'll just close this out really quick. We want to thank our folks at Cardon and Associates. We think the world of you and appreciate the work you do for long-term care for so many people. And so I think we got to skip at this point. We're going to bounce. We're out.
Until next time, take good care of each other.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
For a small business owner, every day is full of surprises. Some great, some not so great. Like when a client cancels their order at the last minute. But here's a surprise you will like. Progressive provides small business owners with 30 customizable coverage options to help keep their business going strong. So go ahead, surprise yourself. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates and third-party insurers. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.